Alright, shape tools in Adobe Illustrator. There are several. They are right over here in the menu. You have your rectangle tool, rounded rectangle tool, ellipse tool, polygon tool, star tool, and don't ever use this. So basically, every shape is made up of paths and anchor points. So the path is the distance in between the anchor points, and the anchor points are the changes of direction. So, for example, on this circle, you can see that this is an anchor point. See how it says anchor? This is a path. This is an anchor point. So let's make a few shapes. So we're going to start just by making a simple square or rectangle, just by clicking and dragging. There are two other things that you'll need to be aware of with shapes. Down here and up here and over here, you have fill and stroke. I'm going to refer to the ones in the toolbar. Whichever one is on top is the one that is active. You can switch them with this little key there, or you can also press Shift X. Notice how it's jumping back and forth. Let me increase the stroke for you. Okay, so notice that you have a fill and no stroke. That's what that line means. Or a stroke and no fill. If I want to change the color of these, I can double click on them. Or I can come over here, I can change the color on these sliders. You can do grayscale, HSB, CMYK. CMYK is for print, RGB is for light or illuminated or screens. Okay, so for right now, let's just stay with, notice if you want to get rid of a color, you can click on this little button, or you can click the /. And if you want to switch back and forth to whichever one is active, you just press X. Or you can click on it. Okay, so we have a blue shape here that has a blue fill and no stroke. You can create another one by just pressing M and clicking and dragging. Notice that if I click and drag, I can make this shape any ratio that I want, height to width ratio. If I hold Shift, it constrains the proportions and will make a perfect square. Okay, so when you're holding a modifier key like Shift or Alt, you want to make sure that you let go of your mouse before you let go of the keyboard. Because if you let go of the keyboard, see, I'm letting go of the keyboard before I let go of the mouse. The modifier key has to be held down at the time that you let go. The other way to create a square, and this can be a little bit more exact, is you can choose your rectangle tool and then single click. That brings up this dialog box, and currently it's in pixels, and it will come up with the same size as the last shape that you created. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so if I create something that is about 324, okay, and then I single click, see, it's going to come in like that. Now if I want it to be exact, I can actually type in, I want 250 pixels by 250 pixels, and hit return or OK, and it'll make that is exactly 250 by 250. You can also put in, single click again, you can also put in other measurements. So if I want it to be 3.75 inches by 5.78934 whatever inches, then it'll do that calculation for you when you press OK. There you go. I'd like you to try this. So make one rectangle and make sure that that has a blue stroke and no fill. make another rectangle and make sure that that has blue fill and no stroke, and make a third rectangle and give that a blue fill and a green stroke. And you can increase the stroke on the stroke palette and put that inside. Okay, a couple other things about the shape tools. You have a rounded rectangle tool, and it'll create that. You can single click, and there's another option called a corner radius, and you can come in here and you can type different things, and notice how this is a more severe curve, this is a more relaxed curve, or larger curve. An easier way to do that is as you're clicking and dragging, if you press and hold the arrow keys up or down, down decreases the size, up increases the size, then you can kind of fine-tune how you want those to be. Then when you let go, it'll create that shape. It always creates the shape with the colors that you currently have in your fill and your stroke. The same principle applies when you use the star tool or the polygonal tool, polygon tool. So if you use the star tool, you create a star. You hold shift, it locks it so that you're not spinning as you make it. You hold alt, it kind of aligns the sides. Hold shift and alt, it does that. Let go of alt, it does this. So alt kind of changes the shape of the star. You press up, it increases the number of points that you have. If you press down, it decreases the number of points you have. So if you want to make a triangle, use the star tool and press down until you have 3 sides. If you hold it down, then you get a really nice burst. So up and down does that. Okay. Now you can do increase that and then hold alt and it'll give you a different shape. Decrease it so we can kind of see what's going on there. Notice how it does that. Kind of give you those. Polygonal tool, same thing. You can also get a triangle, right? And you get progressively more and more or less and less as you press up and down. You do the same thing. If you click, single click, you can choose the number of sides that you have. Same thing with the star tool. Single click, you can choose the number of points that you have. So I want a 6-pointed star. Gives you that. Up or down. Last thing is, once you make one of these shapes, you'll notice that they have anchor points. And if you use your white arrow tool by pressing A or clicking on the white arrow tool, you can adjust the curves of these anchor points. The further you pull that handlebar on that curve, the more extreme it'll come out of that curve. And they kind of fight each other sometimes. You can kind of manipulate the shape that way. If you don't want it to be a curve, say you want a teardrop, you can come in, and we'll go into the pen tool a little bit more later. You go to the pen tool and click Convert Anchor Point tool. The Convert Anchor Point tool changes curves to corners and corners to curves. So this is a curve. If I click on it, changes it to a corner. If I click and drag, changes it into a curve. Make a teardrop, click on it, switch to my white arrow tool, drag it up. Now you've got a teardrop. So there's a quick run through of the shape tools and the fill and stroke. So just to recap, the shapes that you create will be created with the colors that you currently have in your fill and your stroke. You have your rectangle and your ellipse tool are the ones that you'll be using the most. That's M and L. You can click and drag or single click and have a dialog box. Your polygon tool and star tool and your rounded rectangle tool, as you click and drag, You can modify the shape by pressing and holding up or down. And those are the shape tools.